Welcome everybody to the 15th stream of DBB Live. Hope you've all had a great day so far. Ready to talk some Detroit basketball. I'm Wes Davenport from Motor City Hoops and Detroit Bad Boys, and as always, I am joined by the Aussie himself, who's actually out in Bali right now, which is part of why we got a little bit of a later start, but should be all good now. So, how's vacation going? You're traveling the world, man. Oh my God.
I'm good, Wes. Yeah, sorry, I've had some pretty bad internet the past 7 to 8 days, so um, I hope this is going to work out. I hope we can get at least 45 minutes in here. But yeah, it's been awesome, man. It's like I've gone from 45 degrees in Las Vegas, that's Celsius, to 30 degrees here with humidity. So I'm loving it. I think I've got a bit of sun, and yeah, I'm gonna have also some. There could be some strange noises coming in the background, some motorbikes, some birds. So just bear with me.
Which heat is worse? I mean, we saw Troy Weaver talking about the heat in Vegas, so.
Well, the thing with Vegas is like you don't actually really go outside that much. You're pretty much in your hotel lobby, and then you get an Uber or a taxi or whatever from the right at the front. So the Vegas heat's definitely worse though. The Bali weather's like it's nice. Like I can sit out here in the morning. It's 8 a.m. here, so and it's nice. So yeah, I think I prefer the Bali weather.
Gotcha. Well, all right. Let's not wait any longer. Let's dive into Vegas again, right? So let's get some just general final summer league thoughts. I mean, we saw obviously the two games from Jaden Ivey, James Wiseman, and Jalen Duren. We got four out of Asar Thompson, five from Sasser. And then, I mean, there were some really nice performances thrown in too by more of the fringe guys. Buddy was pretty good. Kazalon was all right. Roden, Tosan, I'm not even going to try the last name, but Jack Nunge, that looked pretty solid. Amude too. So, I mean, there's a lot going on. What are some of your general takeaways from summer league?
I think the first takeaway was that Asar Thompson seemed to get better with each game, which I think was really cool to see. Um, you and I both, yeah, on each show we haven't we weren't his biggest fans coming out of the draft or in through the draft process. So, but since Detroit have selected him, I think we've got behind him, and then to see him sort of improve and really just look like a player who can contribute right away as a rookie. I know for me, I was a little bit worried he might be a bit raw, and his offensive deficiencies could sort of limit Detroit and sort of the other younger players just in the immediate outset. But I think from what we saw on the defensive end, just on ball at least, and all the stuff he does in transition, we spoke about it last week. He's just, I mean, I might be getting a bit carried away, but I feel like if Hamidou Diallo is not on the roster, he's already the Pistons' best transition player in terms of scoring and just making the right play. So I think to see him improve each game, um, especially his scoring improve each game. I know the jumper. I mean, the jump shot's going to take a few years. I want to see improvement there, but be I'm not going to judge his rookie season too much on his 3 point jump shot because I think it's at least a 3 year process. So, but to see the other stuff, the field goal percentage go up, the free throw percentage, you'd like to see that a bit higher. But um, I think for me, he probably exceeded my expectations. I'm not saying he's going to win rookie of the year, but I think he's definitely a shoe in for like the 8 to 10 man rotation. And I mean, I know you want to see him in the starting lineup, and I'm behind that. I think I'd have no issues with him in the starting lineup. So to see him sort of improve with each game was really cool. And then Marcus Sasser, um, I'm just going to be honest. Like I said, I've had really bad internet for the past week, so I've been watching lots of highlights when I can. I haven't really been able to watch full games, but I did catch full highlights of his 40 point game. And I know the competition wasn't amazing, but just to see him close and score the highest points in a summer league game um, this summer league was really cool. The he hit five or six threes, but he was doing a lot off the bounce, creating his own shot. I think fans got to see that handle we've all been talking about and just how shifty and tight that is. And he had some really cool highlight plays. And then there's been some cool defensive highlights going around on Twitter of just some of his point of attack defense, just some of the ways he can get into passing lanes and create some turnovers. So I think that was really cool to see. And look, to be honest, the fringe guys, when I was in Vegas, I paid attention to guys like Jared Roden, Malcolm Casalome, and I thought they showed some flashes. I like Jared Roden. I like what he showed last season just as a two-way guy on the Pistons. He's just that 6'6". I think he's classified as a guard, but I'm going to call him a wing. I think he can hand the ball a little bit. He's hit some threes at Summer League. He's good size. So, yeah, those guys have showed some things, and I think they deserve the two-way contracts at least.
Yeah, I'm really with you. I mean, I'll try to go in reverse order and touch all the stuff that you did as well, but I'll do my best to remember it. But I like both the two-way guys, and I thought Tosan had some good moments too. He was the Exhibit 10 guy, kind of the training camp deal. I wouldn't hate having him on the third two-way once they fill out that final roster spot. I mean, I thought they all showed various flashes and where you would expect to see it. You know, like Caslin looked all right as kind of a two-way wing. Roden could score the ball pretty well, and Tosan kind of was the jack of all trades guy. Like they all excelled in various ways, so that was really cool to see. Sasser, it was just really fun to watch that 40-point game because I know for the most part, like the shot just wasn't falling for him, right? For Sasser, he couldn't hardly hit a three. He made that first one that he took in game one, and then after that, it was kind of a struggle for him. So he's pushing through and looks like Jack's left, but he's gonna hop back in a moment or whenever the internet comes back. But so he's pushing through, and honestly, Sasser played well by and large for the majority of those games, the 5 games that he played. The difference in that last one was just he finally made shots, right? He went 5 of 8, 5 or 9 from three, something along those lines. So to have the shot finally drop for him while he continued to do all of the other things he was doing really well. That was just really, really great. I thought for him just on the confidence and hopefully, building into the training camp and preseason in the NBA. Because I mean, we got to remember the bigger takeaways for summer league is just this is the first exposure a lot of these guys are getting to fringe NBA level competition. So finally succeeding against that and having a big game like that's going to feel really good for him. And then with Asar, as low as I was on him coming into the draft, I felt like he was kind of as advertised, which was nice to see. I mean, all the negatives were still there, right? I mean, the jump shot wasn't ready. He airballed a couple mid-range pull-ups, and the three-point shot didn't look great. Um, he went rogue a few times off ball on defense. That issue was all still there, and every now and then when it wasn't in transition, I think Bryce pulled this up after game 3 for me. I think he was shooting about 27% from the floor through the first 3 games in the half court. So like all the concerns are still there, but everything that was, a massive positive for him, his on-ball defense, his athleticism, his playmaking ability, and just his willingness, I guess I'd say, to make winning plays, right? Like the number of times he'd make a pass and you're just like, yeah, that was the right pass. That was a really smart move. That was huge. So he by and large, I think he was as advertised. And you're right. I mean, I definitely want to see him out there in the starting lineup. But I think we'll end up getting to that. Yeah, Gary, absolutely right. He's ready to roll. Jack's ready to get out there. I'm loving the shirt. Got the bling going. This is great. I love it.
Appreciate it, Gary.
What's the rest of your fit before we
I
get
agree
into
with
some
you.
questions, man?
I've just got shorts and like these sandal things on, so it's too hot for anything else. But I with the Asar thing, like I agree because my concern was some of the things he did well at OT might not have carried over. So to see those things carry over and like sort of flourish against summer league competition, I think that was like, what's the right word? Not comforting, but it was just good to see because it's like, okay,
Yeah.
these same things stood out at OTA, the exact same things are standing out at summer league, which gives you a pretty good sense that they're gonna carry over to the NBA. He's obviously gonna have his nights where he struggles, but he's gonna have his nights where he looks really, really good. I don't even know if I want to have this conversation, but I don't know if I'm ready to say he's the second best talent on Detroit's roster yet. I think that might be getting a bit carried away, but I think he's part of that core four, and that he could be.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got some work to do, but I'm very excited to watch him play basketball. So as a fan, that's all I can ask for. But plenty to improve upon, and obviously dropped out then. But I assume you're talking about Marcus Sasser just having it all come together in that last game, and how like you can have your struggles in summer league adjusting to, I don't know, even just the 3-point line. It's probably the first time he's shot an NBA 3-point line, at least in game. So, and we've seen, I mean, I remember Cade struggled in his first summer league game or two, and he only played 3. And we've had guys like Stanley Johnson, Luke Kennard, Henry Allenson kill it at their first summer league. So, yeah, I'm not worried about Marcus Sasser's shot or anything based off his summer league performance.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I was saying that it was he was in all other facets playing really well, right? In all of those games. It's just the jumper wasn't going. I mean, he couldn't hit water if he fell off a boat. And then game 4 happens, he goes off in the second half. So it's like, yes, that's just got to feel good. But all right, so let's jump into some questions. This is the first one here from Rogue Glue. Is it concerning that Asar felt non-existent on the offensive end when playing alongside Ivy, Wiseman, and Duran? Does he need the ball to be impactful?
I like this question because I think this feeds into some of our concerns pre-draft. And like, I'm not sure if in the half court, I think Asar is going to have to cut and be really active because he right now, even with the ball in his hands, doesn't do a lot in the half court. It's going to be a work in progress. So, but playing him, I mean, if we're just looking at this question where it poses Ivy, Wiseman, and Duran, I mean, playing Wiseman and Duran next together as a start, so that's already 2 non-shooters, and you want to put him out there. Asar's the 3rd non-shooter. That's going to be tough as is. So I wouldn't say I'm concerned that he felt non-existent, but I think there's going to be times throughout the regular season where if Asar's accompanied by another non-shooter or 2, definitely 2, the offense could look pretty rough because spacing is going to be a little bit whack, and then Asar's going to be cutting, but there's probably going to be, if he's sharing the floor with Wiseman and Duran, or I really hope we don't see that, but he's going to be cutting into space where Wiseman's posting up. So I think as a rookie, Asar can be much more impactful off ball in the half court. I think it's up to him to cut and create opportunities for himself. I'll be interested to see if Monty Williams tries to use him as a screener here and there, just setting little ghost screens for Cade just to at the start of the offense, just to sort of get things moving. So I don't think he needs the ball to be impactful, but if you're going to play him alongside Ivy, Wiseman, and Duran, the offense is going to look pretty rough as is anyway.
Yeah, the spacing there was my first thought with this as well, because I think in the half court especially, I mean, it transitions a whole different animal with the Asar because you do like the grab and go potential for him is great. The steal and go potential is really, really great. So in transition, like, yes, I absolutely want him trying to make plays with the ball in his hands. But in the half court, I mean, unless you can get him off movement like off-ball movement to try to get him downhill, like as he's catching the ball to really initiate the motion. Like I'm not really sure you even want him to be trying to initiate things. And this is strictly in the half court. So when he looked non-existent, and John Hollinger actually pointed this out in his piece on Summer League when he briefly mentioned the Pistons front court. But I think that was more a function of Wiseman and Duran being out there together, and then their offense, they stuck Asar and Duran in the corners to space, which obviously did not work, right? But when you've got a guy whose entire half court like skill set is going to be based on cutting and dribble handoffs, like that is not a good situation for him when you have three, and I guess three and a half, because Ivy really wasn't shooting all that well during those games, non-shooters out on the floor. Like you can't get away with that. You can't do it. So I'm not worried that he felt non-existent when that happened, because I think you'd have to expect that he'd be non-existent when that would happen. I'm more worried that they might like trot out that lineup for some reason just to see what happens, and then it'll all go it'll go bad. Like I know for a fact it'll go bad. That's my concern. But to the second part of that question, in the
really
half
hope.
court, no,
Yeah.
I think he'd actually you'd be detrimental to have him need the ball to try and make him impactful in that way. But in transition, yes. So kind of a cop out, but.
Yeah, it's if just first of all, I hope we don't see that lineup. I really don't. But yeah, I think just overall the half court is going to be a work in progress for Asar for a couple of seasons once again, because I don't think this team's in a position anymore to give him a ton of half court reps to improve, like they have been in prior seasons. Unless there's injury once again and opportunities open up through that avenue. But yeah, I think he's going to make his living in the half court, cutting and sort of just maybe if he can get some closeout opportunities, if early on players haven't checked the scouting report and do close out to him, maybe he can make some things happen there. But I mean, that's why it was really cool to see him get on the glass. I mean, he averaged 2 offensive rebounds at Summer League. That's going to be ways he helps his team score in the half court. He's just second chance opportunities and just sort of, I don't know, yeah, just be opportunistic. But I don't think he'll be doing a lot with the ball in his hands, especially if he's starting alongside Cade and Ivy. If he's in the second unit, even still, the opportunities probably won't be there as much, but we might see a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. And like, I think this kind of goes back to, pre-draft and a little bit of what you can actually can or what you can and cannot take out of summer league too, right? Because I mean, this was the idea behind Asar Thompson. This was the player you thought you were going to get, more of the off-ball secondary or tertiary creator type guy rather than his brother, who's very much on-ball point guardy, right? And 4 summer league games aren't going to be enough to really change that expectation. If it starts to drag out, into the preseason and into the regular season, then like, yeah, well, we can readjust. But that was just 4 games against fringe NBA players, and as great as it is for them, like I wouldn't change any of the draft scout on any of these guys just yet. I think it's coming, but
Yeah.
not yet. Do you have any thoughts on that before we
What
move
about
on
Cam
to a
Whitmore?
question from Gary? Cam Whitmore. He might get hurt. That was still the rumor, right? It was off court and medicals. Though he did look really good. He could score.
I read this just on Twitter, so it could be a complete absolute lie. But apparently he has a partial tear in his meniscus. Could be a complete lie though.
It answers
you heard that?
questions if it's true. I haven't seen it. I don't know.
I saw last thing because we were both big Cam Whitmore guys. So, and this isn't me saying the Pistons should have drafted him because he failed to pick 20. So there was a lot of teams, pretty much every team passed on him. But um, there was this video circulating of like him next to like some footage of him playing summer league next to Jaylen Brown, and they move, shoot, finish, dribble, eerily similar. They look very very similar. So yeah.
Yeah, they
Anyway,
do. I'm just gonna, I'm not an NBA scout. I don't work for any of these guys. They know more than I do. I'm gonna stick with that until I know otherwise.
absolutely, they
All right.
know much
I
more
don't
than
know
I
if you
do.
actually
So
saw this.
yeah,
Yeah, right. So I don't know if you saw this, and I can go like briefly on it, and then we could probably loop this into some Team USA conversation, which could be fun. But there was a
yep,
video that popped up today of Cade doing an open run with a bunch of other NBA players. Your man, Andre Drummond, was there actually working with him too. So
I know.
kind of cool to see. Did you catch this at all? Do you have any general thoughts
Yeah,
on it? And if not, we can do Team USA too.
my general thoughts were like I'm not going to take away a ton from it, but I thought it was cool to see Cade sort of dominate. And the only thing is they don't post missed shots in this, so but he looked pretty good. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to feed too much into the hype, but I remember watching those open runs last year where the UCLA ones, and I think Cade made like they only showed him making like two shots, maybe like a layup. So to see him in this open run hit like a ton of pull up jumpers and just like some shots at the rim, like I don't know, it was better than last year's a year ago where we saw him make like two shots and you were left there thinking they only show the makes and Cade's a big name, so if they're only showing two makes, is that all he did? So to see him sort of be the star on the court, yeah, that was cool. But I'm not taking too much away from it because everything he did in those 10 games for Detroit. But yeah, it's always like it's cool to see him back on the court because I think we can forget um, just how good a player he is. So, um, and yeah, it was cool to see him with Andre. They were on the same team for a little bit there. They were running pick and roll. Um, and then
Could
I
have
think
been.
Kate hit a couple of shots over him. So I don't know. I think I saw someone post on Twitter. I'd love to know the conversation between those two because, like it or not, Andre was the face of the franchise for a little bit there. So he's got some of that experience. So I'm sure there was a word or two there about Pistons fans. Well, not Pistons fans, but just what it's like being the face of the city for basketball. So, um, yeah, it was cool. I've got a follow up question for you, but did you have a chance to watch this?
I did, and this will just show you how starved for some NBA basketball I am, Jeff. I went and found the full cut up video that included misses and was like 10 minutes long,
Oh,
and I watched it. So the highlight video was about three, the full video was about 10. So, like, he missed a lot of shots here. But I don't know. My only takeaway was it's obviously cool seeing him playing basketball again. And he makes a lot of things look really easy at half speed that I, to this day,
yeah,
still can't do on a basketball court. So it's
yeah. He
impressive.
had this. He had this. He was running pick and roll with Andre, and he went to his left, and he just like I think it was like a half hezzy, and it brought up Whiteside, like got Whiteside off balance, and then he just finished with his left, and he just does it in his own pace, and I'm just like, they're just so hard to do, even in pickup, like, like play it,
Like
even
it
just playing like
legitimately looked like he
yeah,
was not going full speed. No, I was just
yeah.
like, my God, I can't do
That's like,
that.
would you say that's his? I think that is his most special on court trait. Just the ability to play at his own pace,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I think that what separates like playmakers, like certain tiers of playmakers. Like you can be someone who just attacks at will and sort of draws a defense and kicks it out. Like I don't know if Russell Westbrook can play at a pace like that. Like Cade's like it's like that CP3. I don't know. There's something about it that's just really unique, and you don't see it a lot.
Well, I mean, no, you're spot on because as a defender, if you can speed up the ball handler and start to rush their decision making and their process, like you've won. You've won that matchup or at least that section of the possession. So the fact that you really can't speed up Cade Cunningham, no matter what you do. I mean, he stays locked in it. However fast he's going to go and however fast he's going to process things. It is a really special trait. And you're right. You see, Chris Paul, Luca, Chauncey
Yeah,
Billups had it. Darren Williams too. To go back a while,
yeah,
he had it. Like it is a unique trait. Everything else has got to come
yeah,
along too, but it's a
yeah.
unique trait. What's your
Yeah.
follow-up question?
I was going to say, again, it doesn't even make much sense, but say like the Pistons big man rotation figured itself out. Would you ever bring Andre Drummond back? Like
I
seriously,
mean,
just
he's
as a
better
player.
than the backup fives that they have right now.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's a pretty good backup big. I think he's
Yeah,
decent.
he'd
I'm
be an
very
upgrade over
biased, but
Wiseman or Bagley. No question
like he
about
was
that. He would.
he was good with Philadelphia. He showed some stuff with the Bulls. That Lakers stint was a bit weird, but he was starting there, so he was okay with Brooklyn. I think, yeah, I am the most biased person here, but
Well,
I wouldn't
he's
be
still
opposed
a
to seeing it.
really, really good roller in the pick and
Yeah,
roll. Like his athleticism has not completely left. It's not what it was, but it's not gone. And he's still really devastating in the pick and roll. So like, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I'll take that.
All right,
Excuse me. All
cool.
right. Oh, I wanted to talk about Team USA. Did you see that news drop there from Woj?
I did. I
Yeah.
did.
What was the reaction?
I don't know. Like, I just don't really care. Like, I honestly, like, I genuinely just maybe I don't know. Like, I it's good, but I just like, and I'm sure there's perks to it which I'm completely unaware to. Like, I like part of it's like I think it's cool they get to go like build relationships with other players in the league they might not get to know. They're obviously doing some more competitive 5-on-5 stuff. Um, but I don't know. I'm more concerned that they're going to get like was Jalen Duran confirmed or is it just K for now?
I haven't seen any confirmation on Duran,
Okay, okay. So
but I might have missed
um,
it.
I'm just scarred because last time I don't know. I remember Isaiah Stewart completely busted his ankle, so
Yeah.
I'm more worried about injuries. But look, I think the one good thing that I will take away from that Cade's obviously fully cleared, and that because there was some people were a little bit confused with the messaging from the team whether he's fully healthy or not. But I mean, we saw that workout video, but to see he's going with Team USA obviously means he's fully cleared, and I would assume fully healthy. So that's a positive. But yeah, I don't really care.
See, I was actually more excited about when I saw that than when I saw the open run stuff. Because
Yeah,
one, it means that, the operators there at Team USA, I think it came out that they actually wanted him for the regular roster. And he said, no, I got to focus on recovery, which, totally fair. They think that highly of him that for this FIBA tournament, they wanted to bring him on and have him part of the main roster, the main team. So they don't get that, but they still bring him in on the select team, which is basically your practice squad. Like he's just going to get the scrimmage against a bunch of really good young NBA stars for however long they practice. Like I cannot imagine a better ramp up back into the league and back into being healthy than doing stuff like that. So um, I was very, very, very excited when I saw that he was going to be on Team USA. So I wanted to bring that up. All right, we're going to jump on to the next question. I know we lost Jack, but he'll hop back on in here. Oh, Oh, he's back.
Sorry,
Cool. Moving on to the
my
next
bad.
question. So great timing. So, all right, this is from Steve T. James Wiseman is a fourth-year player playing in summer league, and his defense still look bad. Do you think there is a chance he just sits on the bench and Bagley is the backup center? Please say yes.
This is a great question, Steve. I think I think yes, Wiseman is a fourth-year player playing in summer league, but it's only his second summer league, and he's like barely played any games. So I don't think he's your normal fourth-year player. But you do make a good point about his defense, and I do agree with you that there is a chance that he does sit on the bench. I think I put out a depth chart a couple of days ago or something, and I had Wiseman as the backup big, and I sort of had Bagley out of the rotation, but I noted that position could fluctuate. Like I could see some nights Wiseman gets minutes and some nights it's Bagley. So I think they're both fighting for that backup big position, and I think there's definitely gonna be nights like Marvin Bagley is a frustrating player, but he had some really big performances last year. Like I know in the game, I'm pretty sure they won a game on the road in Denver. He had like 20 and 12. Like he can just have those nights where he's really productive. So can James Wiseman, but I feel like Bagley's I have a bit more confidence that Bagley can do that against better teams when they're actually trying to win games. So James Wiseman's a touch more raw still. So yeah, I could see Bagley definitely taking his minutes and it just being a seesaw between the two.
Yeah, no, I could see it. And I think to your point, Bagley is like when both of them have the potential to go off on any given night. Like they can both score the basketball and rebound the basketball fairly well. Where, I mean, either one of them can put up 20 in pretty low minutes if they get hot. But Bagley does it in a more low maintenance way. Like what we saw from Wiseman, and maybe this isn't fair because maybe they don't let him do it anymore. But what we saw from Wiseman last year in those 20 some games was he goes off because he starts making a bunch of his post hooks. When Bagley goes off, it's because he's sprinting in transition, he's
Yeah.
catching lobs in the pick and roll. Like it's all quick stuff. He's not just getting it and getting to ISO for 5 to 10 seconds, right? So there's that too. But I wanted to spin this into the depth chart, which is the tweet that you brought up, because I think that's a pretty interesting conversation to be had. Because if it's me and I'm running the show, I want both of Wiseman and Bagley out of the rotation. I think I'm benching them both. They're done. They're not playing for me. If I'm Monty, they ain't playing. They're on the bench. And my backup 4 or 5 is Livers and Stewart.
Okay.
I don't
I
think that
like it.
happens, but that's what I want.
I think when I did mine, like I try and put my personal spin on it, but I'm also trying to be realistic. So hence why I have one big man in there, and I think I have Livers sort of out. But I look, this team won 17 games. Like there is, apart from the vets, Cade, Ivy, Duran, Asar, I think that's 8 people. I don't know. I'm a massive Isaiah Livers fan. I love watching his tape because he does all the little things that this team sort of doesn't really. He's like that connective player that is the only element of a connective player before Asar Thompson that like did those little things, but he hasn't done it for 10 games straight or 20 games straight. We just spoke about Marvin Bagley, James Wiseman. We're basing all our projections off potential, and yeah, I don't know. None of these guys, in my opinion, really deserve rotation minutes. They're gonna have to earn them. So I'm so intrigued because I keep forgetting Joe Harris is on this team, and a lot of people in the comments said get rid of Harris and put Livers in, and I'm like, probably like I sort of see we have our bias with our team and the younger players, but how many games do you want to win? Because Joe Harris is like a knockdown shooter. Yes, his defense might have dropped off a bit, but he's he's on a $20 million contract for a reason. He's a good player when he's healthy. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is. Well, with all of the ways they can take this rotation, I think you can say with certainty that these veterans are playing. Like Morris is going to get minutes, Harris is going to get minutes, Bojan's going to get minutes. So long as they're on the team, like Burks too, Burks is going to get minutes. Like so long as they're on the team, they're going to play. All of them are going to play a pretty good chunk because they do want to be a little bit better. And good vets don't necessarily lead to wins like on their own, but they at least lead to some like stability night to night that you just don't get from 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds and 22-year-olds. Like it's going to be more of a roller coaster with the young guys. It's really not going to be with Joe Harris. You know
Yeah.
that you're going to get probably 4 to 5 attempts from three, and he's going to make 40% of them almost on every given night.
Because,
Doesn't matter. That's what you're going to get.
because
So I think they all play, and then the conversation is, who starts and who fills out the bench around all of those veterans, and that's where it gets dicey.
yeah, because ultimately, like, there's still 4 21-year-olds or younger who are going to be playing around 20, 28 to 34 minutes a night. Like,
Yeah.
so Monty's got to try and balance development, but also Tom Gores is just, he has been spending money all summer. He's going to want to see some progress in the wing column, and Troy Weaver is probably going to start feeling some pressure, even though he got a contract extension, if the wins aren't there. In terms of, look, I just want to flag, like, I'm talking like 27 to 28 wins on the season. I'm not
Yeah.
talking 38 wins, but yeah, trying to like, are you going to really balance the development of James Wiseman and Isaiah Livers when you already got 4 guys in Thompson, Duran, Stewart, and Cade who still need plenty of development? When, like, you can boost the development of those core 4 players by playing those vets alongside them with, like, just stabilizing things. I think that's more of a priority in my opinion. And you're probably it's gonna be more conducive to winning than trying to play all these Wiseman livers, trying to find them 10, 15 minutes and sacrificing minutes of like Joe Harris and maybe Alec Burks. It just doesn't really make sense to me.
With livers in particular, it's kind of funny to me because all of the issues that I had last off season when I was the well-known livers hater on our home court stream was I still have all of them. I mean, he's not proven anything. It's just now there's no Hami Diallo directly in front of him where the one-to-one trade-off of like, okay, I know that this guy's an NBA player. I don't know that this one is. Like now you're trading off Livers or Wiseman. And like the idea of Isaiah Livers is just far more appealing than the idea of James Wiseman to me. It just is. Like I'm sorry, it
Yeah.
is. Am I crazy for that?
No, and you've like, you see the potential with Wiseman. You're far from a Wiseman hater. So
I am.
that makes a lot of sense. Everything you're saying, you just say that with a very balanced opinion, and I agree. Like, I mean, I wouldn't even mind seeing, like, if Wiseman and Bagley are out of the lineup, does that mean Stu plays spot back up 5 minutes? Yeah, I think I'm fine with
Probably.
that. If Stu's 3-point shot works, you can just have him as a spacer,
Well,
5
and
out.
the thing with me, I like him playing the bench five because I mean, how many just massive backup five men are there in the league right now? Like if he's off the bench at the five, you're not sticking him out against like Embiid or Jokic or anything like that. He's going up
Yeah,
against, you know, random backup five men for the Clippers or I don't know, is Dwayne Dedman still
Yeah,
kicking around? Like, I don't care. I'm
yeah.
not worried
Like
about that.
Isaiah Hartenstein from the Knicks, who's like bigger
Hartenstein.
body, but he doesn't really. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's fine. Stewart can handle that.
yeah.
So real quick, I want to hear your preferred lineup if you're running the show, and then what you're expecting to see rotation wise.
Okay, my preferred starting lineup is probably what I put down. I actually really like the idea because I believe in Stewart's 3-point shot. So I like Cade, Ivy, Boyan, Stewart, and Duran. Defense on the wings is a bit of a concern, but I don't mind that offensively. I don't mind that like as a rebounding unit. I think the spacing's decent, as decent as you'll get with the potential starting lineups. And then off the bench, I think I would go. It's probably going to be pretty similar to yours, but it would be Morris, Burks, Asar, Livers, and Harris. I think are the 10 guys getting all the minutes, and then maybe Bagley would be my 11th if you're going to have go 11 some nights, because I think the way he scores, it's sort of we touched on it just then, so I don't need to go over it. But I think he can bring some things as a rebounder and a scorer in certain matchups. He can sort of be that microwave big. So that would be my 10 to 11.
Yeah. No, I like it. I like it. I mean, I think getting creative too with the backup five could be really interesting. And that might actually be something that Monty Williams does. I mean, right, if you we talk about it with the backup point guard all the time. We did last offseason after Ivy was drafted, right? That you could stagger Cade and Ivy after starting them together, right? And you could kind of do the same thing with Duran and Stewart if you're not going to play a Wiseman and a Bagley routinely. So I actually kind of like that. That's fun. I'm with Steve here. I'm going to keep pushing this until we get to the regular season and they don't do it because I don't expect it. But Cade, Ivy, Asar, Boyan, and Duran, and then like I said, off the bench, I think you're looking at if that were to happen, you'd be looking at Morris, Burks, Harris, Livers, and Stewart, and that's how I'd roll with it. But again, like I do not expect this. I think that I'm just going to be disappointed, and that's going to be how it is.
Yeah. No, I think that I have no issues with that lineup either. I would, if that's the starting lineup, I'm cool with that. I think each lineup has its flaws and each has its positives.
Yes.
Um,
They won 17 games.
but I think Asar in the starting lineup, that would be fine. I think he could start, play the first 6 minutes, and then you swap him out. And yeah, ultimately, I'm interested. What do you think's the closing lineup opening night right now?
One on the screen.
Really? Okay.
Maybe you swap Bojan and Duran for Livers and Stewart, depending on how those guys look. Well, Livers specifically looked in preseason and how Stewart has developed as a weak side rim protector. But I
Yeah.
think that the lineup right there is pretty much your best balance of young. You've got the vet out there to calm things down. Ideally, Duran can protect the rim, and Asar can take your best perimeter scorer, and
Yeah.
hopefully, Cade and Ivy aren't awful on defense. So, I think
Yeah.
that's like your most balanced lineup that they can throw out there, in my opinion. And I think you probably roll with that at the end of games too. But like
Yeah, I agree.
I'm open to changes on it because it's tough.
The wing defense in the lineup I laid out is a major issue. Like Boyam would probably be guarding because you don't really want Cade and Ivy taking a bigger wing. So yeah, Boyan or Stu, aren't really ideal wing defenders. So yeah, I could see Asar starting for that reason.
Yeah, and my only real pitch at this point, outside of you drafted him at 5 and you're really invested, so like throw him out there to start games, is at this point I can't really think of anyone on the roster I'd rather have like guarding Jason Tatum. I don't think
Yeah,
Asar's going to guard Jason Tatum well. Like, to be clear, I think he's going to lose that battle, especially early on. But like, I don't want to stick Bojan on him. I don't want to put Stewart on him. I don't want to
yeah,
subject Livers to that. Like, he's the only guy that I'm like, you have an outside chance. Go try at this
yeah.
point.
No, you're convincing me a little bit. I guess I just don't. When I look at rookies and defense, like I just think they're gonna get burned most of the time. But when your roster's set the way
Yes.
Detroit's is, you sort of don't have a whole lot of options. So
It's like rookie year Stanley Johnson. Was he a good defender? Not a chance. Did they still stick him on LeBron James because he was their only hope? You bet your ass they did.
yeah, no. Well, if we go with that line of thinking, then I think your lineup's the one to go with. It's I can't wait just to see how like figure out Monty Williams as a coach. Like just get to come to understand what he likes to do because we can go look at all the Sun stuff, but it's a different roster, and like I'm really excited to see how he uses each guy and just yeah get to know him as a coach and his tendencies. Like we got to understand Dwayne Casey.
Yeah. And it's definitely a wild card, right? I mean, who knows what it is? I'm really curious to find it too.
Like
So this
I
next
still
one
think
here. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, the last thing I was going to say is like that's still the most exciting part of the off season for me. Aside Cade
Me
getting
too.
healthy is Monty Williams. Like over the draft of any like that's that is the wild card for like we can sit here and talk about lineups, projections, win projections, but yeah, Monty could I don't know. He holds the keys. It's gonna be exciting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a coach that's built up a program from the bottom to at least respectability twice. Like
Yeah.
that's just very exciting. Maybe he can't do it a third time. We won't know till we know. But at least on paper, that it's really exciting. I'm with you. That was the highlight of the offseason for me too. So, all right, this is
Definitely.
from Just Football Academy Australia. One of your guys here, Jack. He's asking, why does it matter if Asar starts? Minutes played is more important, and we've kind of sort of touched
So
on it, but I wanted to bring it up anyway.
we we pretty much did touch on it. I think this is Rocky. We've gone back and forth on Twitter before, so shout out to Rocky. He's a big fan of the Pistons Pulse as well. I'm sure you've had interactions with him. Um, so why does it matter if Asar starts? I don't think it really does, but Wes made a great point then. Like, who else is defending Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard? Well,
Yeah,
the good thing is Kawhi Leonard and Paul George don't really play, but knowing the
true.
Pistons, like they probably will suit up. So, but yeah, Wes, you sort of convinced me a touch. I'm not gonna lie. Like, although he is a rookie, like who's defending these starting wings? Do we want Boyan doing that again? I don't think so.
No.
So, as much as I would, I mean, I guess that's the great thing about Asar showing a lot as a rebounder in summer league, because that is
Mhm.
my absolute major concern with that starting lineup is that
Yep.
just seems like they will get killed on the glass. But Asar was, I think he was fourth in rebounding at all of summer league, averaging 10 a game, and I think that's translatable. I don't think he's going to get 10, but you know what I mean in terms of the way he rebounded. I think that all translates to the NBA. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think I answered the question.
No, you're spot on with the big concern with that lineup. The only like saving grace is that a lot of teams do go small at the 4, so like it's not like you are
Yeah,
sticking Bojan against two bigs unless it's Evan Mobley or Jared Jackson Jr. or Milwaukee. I mean, there are problems. There are big problems. But anyway, to answer the question directly, I think the only thing I would add to what you said is just it. I generally agree that minutes played is going to be more important, especially in the long run for these guys, rather than if they started or if they came off the bench. But in this case, it does impact which guys you're out on the court with quite a bit. And given how clean of a slate it is with Cade, Ivy, and Duran, the other three guys in that core four that they've got going. I mean, Cade, Ivy, and Duran haven't played hardly any minutes together. So it's not like there's a lot of established chemistry. You're not running the risk of upsetting anything or ruining anything that's already set up. So at this point, you kind of have an opportunity to throw all four of those guys out there and let them, work through some kinks and build some chemistry up together while actually playing games in the NBA and getting a lot of minutes together as a group. So I think that honestly might be the biggest argument I would make for it. I mean, even more so than the guarding of the superstar wings that might come into town. Is just like you've got a real opportunity to do something actually pretty similar to what the Bulls did after they drafted Derrick Rose. I mean, I think they were, I forget what the nickname was. It was like Baby Bulls or something like that. But they basically just trotted out four or five 22, 23 and unders. And it didn't look great for a bit, but eventually they all figured it out. And we all know kind of how that team progressed, right? So you kind of got an opportunity to do that again here and let these guys build up a lot of chemistry. I think that might be pretty valuable and a good reason to start them.
Yeah, I agree. That's another really good point. Um, yeah, we keep they keep getting put together as the core force, so put them out there and develop that chemistry because they're the ones that will ultimately take this team as far as it's going to go.
Before we get to the next question, Steve's kind of calling us out here. Do we have Killian thoughts that we need to get out, Jack? I don't,
I think
but now
he's.
we've mentioned him.
I think he's. Yeah, I feel like he's getting traded. Even though Troy
Yeah.
Weaver did mention him on the broadcast in
Mhm.
um, that final summer league game, I just I would be very shocked if he's on the roster.
It
Just seems
feels
like the
like,
writing's
yeah,
on the wall.
it
Yeah,
just does. Whenever you've got a guy, yes, they invested in him with that lottery pick, but you draft a point guard, you draft a player at his position in the first round, you trade for a player at his position, and you have your star player who also plays his position coming back from injury. Like last game of the year, he was the starting point guard, and now he's point guard number 4 in terms of
mm,
how they're invested in these players. So it feels
yeah,
over. It just does. So, but
it does.
all right,
And
we got a
because the
couple
thing I
more.
realized, so last thing,
Go
the
ahead.
trade still have a roster spot free, so they've only got
Hmm.
14 players signed. So I think that's being held free maybe for a reason. I feel like there might be a trade coming, or just I'm not sure. It just might mean nothing. Might just be free because the trade still I don't think have signed a player this offseason. They've just done a couple of trades, so but the roster's obviously not set, and I feel like his contract. I think Killian's probably on around 8 million or 7 8 million. So it's like a
All right.
decently sized contract to help salary fill for something. So I feel like he's on the move.
Yeah. No, I agree. And if we really want to put the tinfoil hats on, uh, you can't. I believe you can't sign your third two-way slot until your roster is filled up, which could be why that Tosan Evabowen got a
Uh,
Exhibit 10 deal rather than a two-way deal. So there's my big tinfoil hat conspiracy for you.
I think that is an excellent conspiracy theory.
All right, so a couple more questions, unless you guys throw any more of them here in the chat. But this is from Kyle. Can you guys give your thoughts on the possibility of Asar playing the 4 in some lineups, similar to Jalen Williams for OKC? Uh, Says they could be similar players, and if they ran out Cade, Ivy, Boyan, Asar, and Duran, that could be a potential lineup.
Also, actually, question for you, Wes. That starting lineup, do you have Boyan at the 4 in that one? Or Asar?
It just depends for me on where I'm putting my focus. So on offense, I would much prefer Asar running some three, I guess, more three type roles, right? I'd like him to be the perimeter cutter. I'd like him to get a few dribble handoffs here and there. I do also want to see him as a short roll guy or occasionally the dunker spot, but I feel like that's going to happen regardless of where he plays, just given the player that he is. And then the four, at least most recently, tends to just be your spacer, which is something that Bojan could do really well. And on the other end, I think you just stick a SAR on the other team's best forward,
Yeah.
regardless of who that is. So
Yep.
he very well could be guarding a lot of fours, depending on how other teams trot out lineups. So I honestly view 3 and 4 pretty interchangeably. The only real difference coming on offense, where the three might handle the ball a little bit more than the four, and then on defense you do have a little bit more size to deal with at the four. But nowadays, I mean, it's not like it was, when we were younger, where Rasheed Wallace and Tayshaun Prince are like ridiculously different player archetypes,
Yeah.
right? Like now it's
Yeah.
pretty interchangeable.
Weird to think of the old power forwards when that was an actual specific position. Like Rasheed Wallace was never really a 5, was he? He was
No,
a
he was a
4.
power forward. He was
Yeah.
not a four. He was
Like
a power
my
forward.
my original favorite player, like Jermaine O'Neal, he was a power forward.
Yeah.
He was a 4.
Hmm.
Like it was a really prominent position. Like Tim Duncan was a
They played
4.
him next to Jeff
Chris Webber.
Foster, for God's sakes.
Yeah, it's crazy. Um, so, but to answer I think you answered the question pretty well, and we've spoken at length about those lineups. That lineup in particular, with I mean, you could have a Sar at the 4 there, depending on the defensive matchup. Um, so yeah,
What could
I
be
don't know.
fun is if Livers actually does become what he's shown that maybe he has the potential to be, and you trot him out there with Asar, like finally some good perimeter defense on the wing, right? From both positions. You're
Yeah,
not hiding anyone. That'd be fun.
you would replace Boyan with Livers, and then you've got the defense. You get some shooting with Livers,
Yeah, not in the starting lineup, but just as a lineup you
but
could
just
see
this.
in the middle
Yeah,
of a quarter, like yeah, for sure.
yeah, just like in certain stretches. His Livers does have some underrated athleticism as well. So Cade Ivy, Livers, Assad, Duran. Yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, so last one. This is from the anonymous YouTube user. I just love when that happens and you don't have the username. It's just funny to me. Anyway, what percent chance do you think there is of a trade before October, and who is it if it does happen?
I think we touched on it. I'm just going to say 50-50, 50% chance. And I think it'll definitely involve either one of Killian Hayes or Marvin Bagley. My gut says Killian Hayes is the more tradable one right now. So I'm going to say him.
I go
Wes?
back and forth. Yeah, I go back and forth between who I think it would be most likely if it does happen, between Bagley or Hayes, because Killian is the expiring deal, but Bagley's also the better NBA basketball player as of July 20th in 2023. So it it's I can't guess who it's going to be. It's one of those two. I'm with you, but I think it's almost like 75-80% chance. I think a trade's happening. I don't
Yeah.
understand. I can't imagine a reason why they've not filled out the roster with one more, maybe develop. They could have taken a shot at Darius Paisley, who was a guy that was fairly connected to Troy Weaver before that draft.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason they're holding off unless
So
they're planning to make something happen. So I think it's almost the expectation for me that a trade does go through.
the
We
re-
might just have to wait a while.
yeah, yeah, I keep thinking they're trying. The front office is maybe trying to get in on like the be that third team to help facilitate the Dame Lillard trade. Because what else? There's nothing else holding up. That's the only thing that's, I guess, holding up any further movement. Feels like what other? So yeah, I think it might stay like this for a month or two, but I feel like that's what the hold up is. Try and be that third team to facilitate, try and get some assets, maybe, yeah, help facilitate a deal. I haven't looked into what the possibilities are to try to get back, but that just feels like the only reason that roster spot's empty and the roster seems a little bit out of whack. It's because Damian
Yeah.
Lillard wants to go to Miami and Portland aren't really happy with their offer, so bringing a third team, yeah, that's all I can
I
think.
think that gets interesting with that, right? Is that they've already taken two salary dumps and they don't have a ton of cap space to just like eat into
Yeah.
anymore. Um, so yeah, I
Well,
don't know. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to
well
see
that,
what happens.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I haven't looked into it because I don't even know what did Detroit get out of being the third team. Typically, they're the salary dump or they take the asset that Miami would be trying to get rid of. But then Detroit have got to have something to give to Portland to sweeten their return. So I don't. Killian Hayes and Marvin Bagley don't really sound like sweeteners unless Portland just want to take a shot on Killian. But unless Portland don't want it
Can't
because
imagine that.
yeah. So I but that's just where my mind goes to when I think like what's the hold up. So yeah,
No,
be interested to
you're right.
see.
So usually those third teams are just here, take some contracts no one wants in a pick, right? And
Yeah,
you do it happily. And sometimes it lucks up, you luck out and you get Jared Allen, and sometimes you just end up cutting the guy or letting him walk after a year. But the
yeah,
Pistons, I don't believe the Pistons can really do that. I'm not a cap expert. Um,
yeah,
which makes it interesting too, because the holdup apparently with that Damian Lillard deal is Portland doesn't want Tyler Hero.
yeah.
So they're
That's what I
looking
was
for
gonna
the
say.
third team to send Tyler Hero to. And it's like, that'd be great. I'd be fine with that. But like, how are you going to get equivalent value to get up and be competitive there? I
That's
don't know how it's happened.
yeah. So that's why I think maybe like that's why I say I haven't looked into it because maybe it doesn't make any sense. But it's just like yeah, it's interesting. I did see something about I don't know if it was actually from a reporter, but there was just someone a tweet sort of got a bit of traction about Detroit should be interested in Jarrett Allen amongst some other teams. Um, and I know Westy
I
had
was
some
all over
thoughts
that.
on that. Yeah, which you're just a realist, and
It was not
everything you say
popular.
is
My
correct.
tweets were
No,
not
I was,
popular when I said that.
um, and yeah, I see both sides. I think everything you say is definitely correct. But I see how fans want Jalen Duran to be Dwight Howard. So um, the thought of him not being better than Jarrett Allen doesn't really compute to some people. But that's okay. Um, I don't know. Jarrett Allen's a pretty good player, an all-star.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just want to say, I don't think
Yeah.
that was even a rumor reported. That was just, yeah,
No, it was a reporter noting that Cleveland may be willing to move on from him, and then listing like, hey, if I were these teams, I'd be
yeah,
interested. And then to just
yeah,
let everyone
yeah,
else in on the, I guess the secret backstory here. Lance, friend of the show, does Pistons talk, great stuff. He said, I don't really like the fit with Allen and Duran. To which I said,
yeah,
well, I would move Duran to get Jared Allen, and that wasn't all that
yeah,
popular.
yeah. I don't know if I would do that, but I see the logic because, yeah, we're finished with questions, aren't we? Because I think we can close on this. Is like
Yeah.
Jalen Duran's biggest area of improvement is defense, and I don't think we saw much of that at Summer League. And we weren't the only ones that didn't say that. Like James Edwards III spoke about it, I believe, on his podcast about the team potentially wanting to see him more dominate defensively. So, yeah, I mean, Jared Allen's a pretty proven rim protector. Yes, he might. I think we all think he has a far higher ceiling than Jared Allen.
Yes.
Jared Allen came into the league and was blocking shots immediately. He was blocking LeBron James at the rim. Like, that's one of the areas I've been a little bit let down from Durant is just his rim protection. I think he started solidly, like, in his first 10 games. But once he became the starter, and it sort of dropped off a little bit. So, yeah, he's got a lot to prove. Like, we all think he's going to be that defensive anchor, but he's got a lot to show on that end. I think it's a very fair criticism to say he's like Sam Vecini. He's a media member who I know watches a lot of basketball. I know he's the best draft guy out there. He is lower on Durant than most because he's not sure about him defensively, and I get where he's coming from with that. So, yeah, I think your take with Allen and Durant is completely fair.
Well, and where I'm really
And valid.
coming from on it is exactly what you said with the defense. Like what it's not like you're talking about a 30-year-old, right? Like this isn't Rudy Gobert. So you've got a 25-year-old Jared Allen who is by all accounts an incredible defensive anchor. He's a great lob threat in the pick and roll. He was an all-star last year. And it's, he's not like he's old. So he's going to continue to be a perennial all defense, all first team defense guy here for at least the next probably length of his contract and at least to age 30, right? So you've got a good 4-ish seasons of like that level of play, along with solid offense. Like he's not unskilled. He's a good offensive player. So the question is if Duran is going to be better than that. And I think he absolutely could be, but it's a spin at a roulette wheel, right? You don't know what you're going to get out of the 19-year-old. And at least as far as being a defensive anchor goes, like you said, Jared Allen, he came into the league and he was a very, very good rim protector. Game one, you knew you had that out of him. You knew you had it out of him coming out of Texas. And it's still been a question mark for Duran. And, there are a lot of things that you can get better at and really improve at once you get to the NBA. There are a lot. Shot blocking is historically not one of them. Like it's pretty rare for a guy. We actually Pistons fans we've all seen this, right? We've all wanted Andre Drummond to be an incredible
Yeah.
rim protector because of his physical gifts. He just never had the timing. He never saw it. He could never predict where things were going. Whatever the reason, never really came around for him. And that is the far more common story for athletic fives. So I'm not saying that Duran definitely will be a worse player. I think he's definitely going to be a worse defender, and then the swing is going to be what he can do on offense because he's a much better passer than Allen is, and he seems to have a lot more potential to do more than just catch lobs on that end. So if he becomes Bam, who can't really block shots, then like great, he's probably a better player than Allen. But I know for certain that I've got a really really valuable like Rudy Gobert light on
Yeah.
defense if I go get
Yeah.
Jared Allen. So I would be doing that move in a heartbeat. Honestly, I would, and I love Duran, but I would. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think I'm ready to do that right now, but I see your argument. Like, I, yeah, I think what I've had to try and be careful with is Duran watching him as a rookie is that sort of Andre Drummond mistake where they put up the 20 and 15, but how impactful that actually was, that game. And he was 18 for most of last season. So just to see him putting up those numbers is impressive. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, he's probably, aside Cade Cunningham, he's the player I'm most watching just defensively to see what he brings this season.
My concerns with him on defense are the only reason I won't like crown him as probably having the second highest ceiling on the team outside of Cade. Like if he was all that he's shown he could be on offense, but then you add, potential all defense level output from a five as mobile as he is as well, then like you've got a really, really special player. The problem is he really hasn't shown it on that end and shown the potential to do it on that end. You're just banking on the athletic traits, and that's historically not a good bet. A lot of teams have lost that bet time after time after time. So that, like I said, like I really, really like him. I think he can be a pretty good player, but he's easily the most movable of the like core four to me. It'd have to be for a star. It'd have to be for a guy who's
Really?
pretty special, like Jared Allen is. But yeah, yeah. There's my big Jalen Duren thoughts for all the viewers.
No, that's good. That's good. I'm sure they'll love hearing those thoughts.
Yeah, I will now be the Jalen Duren hater, just as I was the Isaiah Livers hater.
One of us has to keep it real. I get too sucked into some of these players sometimes, so we
I'm
sometimes it's
guilty
good
of
to
it
have
too,
a
so
realist on the show.
I try.
All right, guys. Well, I think that does it for us today. Thank you for persisting with my Wi-Fi. I think the past 3 shows my Wi-Fi has been horrific, so I
Shows your
appreciate everyone
commitment.
sticking with me. We'll be I'll be back home in Melbourne next time we record. We're planning to do these shows weekly for
Yes,
as
sir.
long as possible until the season starts. So we're going to get creative here with some topics. As always, the show goes with your questions. So thank you for submitting them all tonight. Thank you to my co-host Wes for once again putting up with me, dropping in and out. I appreciate it. And finally, special thanks to Sean Court, the managing editor of Detroit Bad Boys, for supporting the show. And we can't wait to talk more Pistons basketball with you next week. Peace.